Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're going to have to do some real lab magic to put this little lamp back together. What we have here is a fairly new decorator lamp made in a style that was popular in the early 1900s. Sometimes people call these Tiffany style, although I don't know if Tiffany ever actually made any that looked exactly like this. Now, the way this was manufactured is called slip casting, and that's a process that's really common in ceramics, not so much in metal. But the way it works is you have a mold, it's upside down, you pour your molten metal in the top of it, let it go all the way down through it. It cools instantly against the surface of the mold, but the center of it is still liquid. Then you take it, you turn it over, you pour out the excess liquid metal, and then you let it cool, and what you're left with is just a shell like this. The main disadvantage of slip casting is that you have no real control over how thick it is at any one particular spot. As you can see here, we're pretty thick. On that side, we're pretty thin, and that leads to natural weak points that sooner or later, when it breaks, that's where it's going to snap at. Now, the usual technique for repairing something like this is to make basically a splint with a piece of pipe. In this case, although it goes in well here, it doesn't fit very well in there. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of grinding, some surgery on here. As I can see, further up in there, there's plenty of space for the pipe, but just this tight spot is the issue. Now that I have everything where I think it's going to fit, I've got to figure out a way to hold everything in place so I can put it back together. Now that starts with this plywood base, which is just scrap, and I'm going to clamp it down, this piece of wood with some foam padding in it, so I don't mar the finish. And with that in place where it's not going to move, I can put this piece up here and I'll have it clamped together just as well. And so that is how I'm going to get this thing straight. Now I've come to the point where I don't know what I'm doing. Normally that's a bad thing. But in this case, I figured it out before I started doing stuff. The problem is I have to fix this piece of pipe right in here, and I really don't know how to do that. It's going to take some thought. Okay, I think I have a plan. It starts with stuffing a wad of paper from the bottom. And that will set the depth of my pipe, keep it from falling down. Next, I mix up some Bondo fiberglass resin jelly body repair compound. Okay, we're at the Packard Precision 12-speed drill press. I've got our little tree clamped down so that it's not going to move, at least I hope so. And I'm going to bore a hole down through that hardened fiberglass body repair compound. I'm going to call that so far, so good. Now I'm going to set the pipe in place with quick setting epoxy, which I have mixed for a full 2 minutes, just to be sure. Put a little more on the pipe here. Don't want to drip any on the lamp. Trying to be real careful here. A little late in the afternoon, and I probably should have covered it up, but it's going to sit overnight. Close that. Make sure this piece still will close up. That looks pretty good. In the morning I'll figure out how to get something inside here. Now the critical element when you don't know what you're doing is to keep thinking 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 moves ahead. The repair material for this part is going to be JB Weld, a 2-part epoxy with steel particles in it. Has a very high degree of structural strength, as well as it's very adhesive to steel and to the pot metal of this piece. So that's my choice. Now I got a couple problems with that. One is, no matter how nice this looks and how strong it is, it won't make any difference at all if I can't get the wire through it. So I've run this hose all the way down. I'm going to use it to pull the cord back through it after it's put back together. The reason I'm doing that is because with these edges here and down inside, it'd be very difficult to get any kind of a wire up through here and then back around through this corner. Another problem is I've got to get the JB Weld into this cavity around this pipe so that I don't obstruct the passageway again, or JB Weld my hose into the thing. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but learning as we go along. I've used this technique on lots of chairs and tables and stuff like that, but chairs and tables don't have wires that have to go through them when you're done. So this presents a particular kind of problem, but I think it's going to work out. Now liquid steel has a lot longer working time than the fiberglass body compound, so I don't have to work quite as fast, and it does flow, so I can get it up here high on the pipe and it will gradually ooze down and fill in this down here, push out all the air gaps. And all I have to worry about is getting this goop on the finished surface. That'll be a good bit of touch-up and repainting when we're done, and a little bit of filling, because whenever you have a crack like this, even though it looks nice and clean, it is not a perfect fit. There will always be little chips, and in wood there'll be little splinters that will make it not an absolute match when it goes back together. Take a little bit out. There we go. Okay, That's going to reduce the touch-up required to a minimum. And we let it sit overnight. I'm going to have to say that came out pretty good. Feels pretty strong. All I have to do now is just put it back together. To give you an idea how much I don't want to have to do this twice, I've attached the cord to the hose with Gorilla Tape. And I really hate having to get Gorilla Tape off of wires. There we go. That's what I call a success. Now this is the part of the video where I would tie an underwriter's knot, but this lamp came with this little plastic clip on here which serves the same purpose, which is to prevent the cord from getting jerked out of the lamp if somebody trips over it in the dark. And that would leave you with two live wires inside of a steel lamp, which is definitely not going to help anybody. Next, I talk about how all the lamp cord sold in North America comes with one side is smooth, one side has ridges. In this case, where we're wiring up a cluster, the cord coming out of these pipes, one side is smooth and one side is ridges. And so all the smooth wires go together, twisted in nice and tight, and I always use the pliers to give it just a little bit of extra twist and get them all gathered up together into two solid connections. Now the original connection in this lamp was wire nuts, and I do not like them, mainly because you really can't be sure that you've got a good connection, and there's also the possibility that the wires can oxidize and you end up with a bad connection sometime down the line. And when I solder them together like this, I know that I've got a lamp that's going to stay lit for a very, very long time. Now to seal the connections, I use shrink tubing, which is a peculiar kind of plastic. When it gets heated, it shrinks. This will draw down tight. I'll fold these over and put another piece over it, tuck them down in this body, and the electrical part of this lamp will be finished. For the final touch-up of this gray liquid steel, I have mixed up a little bit of polyurethane varnish with a generous dab of red mahogany wood stain. And I have found that for this kind of work, usually 2 coats will completely cover up and blend in very well with this particular finish. So let this cure, maybe only an hour or so, come back and put another coat on it, and this thing will be ready to go back to our customer. Well, I'm happy with the results. I think the customer will be too. So, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. Thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate it if you would click the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Any comments or questions, I respond to all. And again, thank you for watching.